The voice of the people is the voice of God. The tables are turning, your eyes are opening. Welcome to the revolution.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom.
Want freedom.
Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution.
Let's unite and stand for something.
This is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And this revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. This is the people's revolution.
Come on, people. Come on, people.
Let's move.
Come on, people.
Come on.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution.
Let's unite and stand for something.
This is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And this revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. This is the people's revolution.
Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, come on, come on, come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
The people's revolution.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare, side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea. This our native land, we pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Almighty God, most beneficial and merciful, Creator of the universe and embodiment of divine wisdom and light, we come before you with thanksgiving and praise. May your will be done in our nation as it is in the heavens. Please bless our political leader, party officials, activists, and all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Give us the grace to always see good, be good, and do good, and the courage to serve the people. Protect us as we stand against injustice and iniquity, and inspire our endeavors to find the right solutions to the problems that are affecting our fellow citizens. Grant that we may always work together with humility and respect for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of our country. Amen. From across the nation, this is the United National Congress People's Revolution. Welcome to our virtual report.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
The People's Revolution.
When we women go in the supermarket, we have to work with a pen and a paper now. We have to pick up items where we money could afford to buy. We have to neglect certain things but good for our children. When our husbands go to the hardware, they can't buy.
In the image of the United National Congress, Alderman Diane Bishop.
Good evening to the political leader and former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the best Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago ever had and will ever have and soon to have again, my distinguished colleagues on the floor here tonight, and the viewing public on the various viewing platforms. I am Diane Smalley Bishop. My task tonight, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, my sisters, my mothers, my friends, my neighbors, the cries of the poor must not fall on deaf ears. Mothers cannot make ends meet. Constant state of oppression. Women are being oppressed in Trinidad and Tobago. In the groceries, pharmacies, we are at crossroads in buying what is absolutely necessary for our children. But it is not only subject to women. When the men, our husbands, goes to the hardware stores, it is another sacrifice in choosing what needs to be fixed. Every day, every moment is sacrifice. But I want to touch some things tonight, this evening, to my ladies, to my sisters, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, throughout our nation. Women are crying, being oppressed, hungry, can't feed their children, no employment. What are we to do? Are we to just sit back quietly and allow this to go on? I say no. This evening, we can't. We have to stand up. You see, I know the cries of of all our women. While we may have the opportunity to have a job, their daughters don't have. And when our sisters don't have, we who have must hold their hands in some way or the other. While our government is having a good time with the citizens, taxpayers' money, we have nothing. This thing is not about us alone. Our future, our children. If we can't feed our children, how can we educate them if we to say something today. We have to ask ourselves, why is it we cannot afford the basics? Why we can't afford groceries, pharmaceutical items? It is because we are in 2021, living in a country where the salaries are 2013 salaries. And I said this evening, while our government is having the cabinet meetings and bringing laws to the land of our country to oppress us, while they're only bringing fines and just imagine that everything they come to the television and tell us is about a fine. We have to pay this, we have to pay that, we have to do this, we have to do that, while we making sacrifice, while the citizens making sacrifices, our government having a fun time with our money. That is not good. I want to bring something to Dr. Keith Rowley. How you just feel, Prime Minister? Do you have a heart? How you just feel? Property tax. And watch now, it is unfair to us. And why I say it is unfair to us? While you saying that all who build new buildings, and it have some ministers who build buildings from end to end road, you're telling them that no pay property tax till 2025. But we the citizens who fighting to survive, who making sacrifices, who burning with belly, we eating less, we buying less, some can't buy at all. We making the sacrifice for you all to bring laws to oppress us. A fine for everything. Property tax at a time like this, Prime Minister, is not the right time. It is definitely not the good time. People are suffering. Watch now, only when you're in the trench, you just know, only when you're in the heat, only who in the kitchen just feel the heat. We are sisters out there don't have nothing. While we might be able to give a hamper today and a hamper tomorrow, what after that? What after the hamper? They are going in the same supermarket just like all who are employed. And I want to say something to some women. While you know you're making all kind of, when we're talking good things and strong and vibrant things to raise the livelihood of our sisters out there, some people making some comments. But I want to say to you today, while you may have a job today, and you're saying all kind of negative things, you don't know what tomorrow could be. When your neighbor house on fire, wet yours. And I want to continue a little bit. At the end of the day, it is not my opinion that we must consider alone. It is the opinion of the citizens. It is the opinion of the masses. It is the opinion of the working class. We are the ones making sacrifices and tough decisions every day. Where are the opportunities in this country? Why are we not seeing the support? Where is the support of the masses? We are doing our part, yet we are not seeing the fruition of it. For those who are able to be employed, it is a blessing. The employment rate is unbearable, especially amongst our young people. And this situation has been exacerbated with COVID-19. We have to ask ourselves again, what is being done? Well, I am telling you, nothing is being done. All I see is oppression. Let me tell you something. Social welfare, get in the trench. Women in the PNM, get in the trench. Go and see your sisters. While some people may not come out boldly and ask, I don't even want to use the word beg, and ask for a little help. Some people making fun and talking about handout. While some children cannot even get books. Some children don't even have devices. What are we doing? All this money spending, ministers, the wives, the friends. What happened to us, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago? While the Prime Minister going in cabinet and coming back and he's saying all kind of things disrespectful to women, we have people clapping them. Clapping. And when you go home, you ain't have nothing in your cupboard. What you clapping for? And I want to go on a little bit. Our street vendors, domestic workers, and a number of taxis and PH drivers, to name a few, are also among thousands of informal workers in Trinidad and Tobago who have been suffering. Many of these people are not eligible for the salary relief grant. And I want to tell you, I, an alderman in the Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation, you know, much times women coming to us, our young sisters coming to us, asking us, what can we do to assist them? Since last year, they filled out this salary relief grant form, and up to this day, and while we hearing money given away all about, people still in Trinidad and even Tobago waiting on this relief grant. Many of these people have no savings, no bank account, and are running out of food. How will these people feed their children? Keith Rowley, ministers, women in the PNM, how will these these people feed their children? The growing poverty and inequality during the pandemic have given low-income people an even smaller chance of survival. Again, we must ask, what are we doing? And yet there are questions, you know, and you know, if I could recall our mothers out there, our sisters out there crying out for help. Look, brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. Time for us to rise up. This platform, come and join. Let us hold hands together. My sisters, my mothers out there, my friends, my neighbors. Now is not the time to say all kind of ill things about each other. Now is the time for us to regroup and to stand up. We shall rise. The PNM has to go. Keith Rowley, you don't have a heart. Let me tell you something. I want to say something about my political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the best prime minister this country ever had and will ever have, a woman with a heart. We have women in the United National Congress, women with a heart who cares. If you look from 2010 to early 2015, you just watch where you was and look from late 2015 to now and see where we are. Destruction. We have fallen. The place gone totally down. So this evening, I want to say, time to rise up, women. Time to get up. Time to stand up. What are we going to do? Are we going to continue to sit down idly by and allow this wicked, taxing, thieving government to continue to oppress us? Let us stand together. Let us stand tall. Come on, let us hold hands. This is not no time to who better than who could buy and who can't buy. Who could buy now? I thank God. Who can't buy a prayer? Pray to God. But who could buy now? If we continue to clap, there will come a time that we won't be able to buy. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity. God bless us. Long live the UNC. Long live Kamla Persad-Bissessar. God bless us. Thank you.
A team focused on rebuilding the economy and restoring our democracy. This is the United National Congress.
Their incompetence, lies, deceit, mismanagement, corruption, and nepotism has pushed Trinidad and Tobago on the verge of the precipice.
In the image of the United National Congress, the Member of Parliament for Couva South, Mr. Rudy Indarsin.
Political leader of the United National Congress, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and all of my colleagues on this virtual platform here tonight, and my brothers and sisters of our great party, a pleasant good night to each and every one of you. Tonight, Trinidad and Tobago is in a state of distraught and chaos as a republic, and as our nation grapples with some of the largest crises ever in our nation's history, like the emergence of the COVID-19, others have appeared on our doorsteps unannounced. Other crises, such as the collapse of the Police Service Commission, appeared as a result of alleged political interference by the Prime Minister, who seems to tinker with the integrity of every state institution to appease his political ego. Every single independent institution in Trinidad and Tobago is under threat. We are at a stage when rising COVID statistics have soared to over 500 cases per day and deaths of unimaginable proportion in recent times. This situation, which existed before the lifting of the state of emergency, will lamentably persist or become even worse, with no indication that our police or healthcare agencies are prepared to deal with any sudden spikes in relation to infection. At the middle of these crises stands the PNM government led by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, which has burdened this country with crisis after crisis, for which they always seek to blame someone else, pointing fingers one way while running the other way to make their escape. My brothers and sisters, terror has become soon, as the lifting of the state of emergency has brought with it an increase in criminal activity. And over the past week, we have seen headlines which detail multiple killings in one day overnight. And over the weekend, we have seen what has transpired. The cause of this spike is unsure, but what is sure is the PNM government, led by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, has not been able to make the people of this country feel any safer, especially given his interference into the affairs of the Police Service Commission and its subsequent collapse, and more so, its indirect responses, on whether he influenced or caused the now infamous withdrawal of the merit list. In addition to all of these matters that have seen this government cause the collapse of public goodwill and state integrity in this country, we now have a new crisis which has emerged at one of our very key institutions, that being the Industrial Court. And the Industrial Court is a critical institution in the context of the preservation of harmonious industrial relations environment in Trinidad and Tobago, and in the context of the preservation of law and order. And it maintains justice in matters between employers and employees, and it has often set the precedent for how the interests of workers and businesses are to be observed in Trinidad and Tobago. And the Industrial Court, my brothers and sisters, is key because it is important when it comes to keeping a check and balance on the state, when it comes to the political agendas and mismanagement of the state and its impact on workers in Trinidad and Tobago. And it is of grave concern that I have read over the last weekend reports concerning possible nepotism in the hiring of personnel at the Industrial Court. And today, the United National Congress, led by Kamla Persad Bissessa, will continue to prosecute the possible nepotism in the hiring of the new registrar at the Industrial Court. And today, we are forced to ask the question, who is the high official responsible for gifting Attorney at Law Kevon Swan the prestigious position of the Industrial Court? And furthermore, I have in my possession a series of WhatsApp messages between two persons, one whom is supposed to be an employee of the court, while the other is seeking employment at the court. And at some point in time, the name Ivor is mentioned. One wonders, who is this Ivor that has been mentioned? Apparently, I asked, was this Ivor instrumental in creating an opportunity for one person in the WhatsApp team to receive employment, supposedly even though he was not as well qualified as others who may have applied for this said position? And my brothers and sisters, I want to take the opportunity here to read the thread of WhatsApp messages that was sent to me and that I have in my possession. And it reads as follows. Congrats are in order. Well done, sir. I see persistence did pay off. Yes, Ivor is a gem. He always keeps his promises and is trustworthy. I'm excited to commence this new chapter in my life, thanks to him. Being registrar is no easy task, but he has faith in me, and I refuse to let him down. There will be a lot to learn at the Industrial Court with all those unions and their cases. I am really happy for you. Try and link your BFF, please. You know, I am experienced in legal affairs. Would you need an assistant or clerk? I can ask Ivor if he needs anyone at the court. Knowing him, Ivor will make room or he can squeeze you in. But he has to be careful. Too many eyes at the hall, which was why he organized for me to be at the Industrial Court. Imagine that, Registrar Kevon Swan. There is a beautiful ring to it. When do you start? And I hope to get you your office. And the series of messages continues to go with the continued interaction and the offer of lunch and so on. And Trinidad and Tobago, the UNC has to be focused, because we will continue to ask, my friends, who is this Ivor? How did he help to get a job for this said person? How many other applicants were there applying for this said position? And why are people being allowed to pull strings in the Industrial Court to hire persons who are not well qualified for positions as others may be? Again, who is this Ivor? And can anyone guess? Maybe, my friends, we cannot continue to have or afford critical institutions which will be compromised, because at the end of the day, I have been advised by workers at the Industrial Court that they fear victimization. They claim that the position was not advertised internally at the court, as was past practice. And since December of 2020, this position remained vacant when the former registrar, Noel Innes, retired. Workers have indicated to me that the position was not advertised by the Service Commission Department. They felt that the Assistant Registrar, Katian Alexander Fraser, who have acted on numerous occasions based on when the former registrar left the country, was on vacation or out of the jurisdiction, as I said, she should have been considered for the job. And today, my research has guided me to ask the questions: did the Judicial Legal Services Commission, did it give a directive to the Service Commission Department to create an advertisement for this said vacancy? And based on procedure, that advertisement would have been placed on the Commission's website, and it would have been forwarded and circulated within the industrial court for internal applications. Workers have further guided me to ask the question that the effect of denying others to apply and to be interviewed and considered is a serious breach. And did the Judicial and Legal Service Commissioners, did the members of this commission, did they breach their responsibility to ensure there was equality of treatment for all who wanted to apply for this said job, my brothers and sisters? So tonight, we are forced to ask the questions on behalf of those who do not have a voice, who do not or cannot access equality of treatment and opportunity for all. Was the process for this job, did the Service Commission Department ensure that there was an advertisement? Did the Judicial and Legal Service Commission advise the Service Commission Department that the advertisement should have been placed? And if the advertisement was made, when was it placed, my dear brothers and sisters? The job of the registrar is no easy task, and this is why we are insisting that this office be free from any kind of political interference, maneuvering, or based on relationships that persons have or are alleged to have had with office holders. As I said, I do not know the thread of WhatsApp messages that I have in my possession, if it is indeed true, and those who are charged with the responsibilities, I expect them to clear the air for the benefit of all in the interest of transparency and good governance. And this leads me to the very important issue as it relates to the flagrant disregard for a recent ruling of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago as it applies to the North Central Regional Health Authority. A senior manager at the North Central Regional Health Authority was on suspension for the last 2+ years. This in itself was an abuse. To have an employee on suspension pending investigation for 2 years is a breach of all the labor laws and all industrial relations practices in this country from a good point of view, or what is established as good industrial relations practices. And based on a matter that was pursued by this worker, he was to be reinstated to his substantive position. And tonight I ask, why did the board of directors of the North Central Regional Health Authority and its CEO, one Devlin Thomas, flagrantly disregarded the rule of law and displayed contempt and no respect for the ruling that was handed down by the judges at the Industrial Court? And tonight, the Minister of Health, Terence D. Elsing, must tell the population whether he was aware of the ruling of the Industrial Court and whether he instructed the board of directors of the North Central Regional Health Authority and the PNM's favored son, Devlin Thomas, to breach this ruling. And tonight I call upon Devlin Thomas not to use taxpayers' money, but to use his personal money, the $20,000 fine and the $10,000 award for damages that was made in relation to the abuse of this ruling to come to be paid out of his personal earnings and not taxpayers' money. And indeed, Terence D.L. Singh must tell the country why he, as the minister with line responsibility for the North Central Regional Health Authority, allowed this breach, allowed the flagrant disregard for the rule of law. And that is why workers have to be afraid for Keith Rowley as Prime Minister. They have to be afraid for the cabinet of this PNM-led government, because they have no regard for the workers of Trinidad and Tobago. They have no regard for established independent institutions. And tonight, I want to tell you that they reward failure, they reward incompetence by promoting and protecting their favored ones as it relates to incompetence and the crises that we are facing. The latest health statistics in Trinidad and Tobago from a Ministry of Health point of view has indicated that the deadliest day of the pandemic was last Saturday, with a record of 28 deaths. And in addition to that, we have seen 1,967 deaths. And in addition to that, 271 persons have died for the month of November. 97 deaths have occurred within the last week. My brothers and sisters, our healthcare system is in a state of collapse. But the CEO of the North Central Regional Health Authority, Devlin Thomas, is protected by the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health. And the Principal Medical Officer, the latest addition to incompetence, is now promoted with rewards after rewards, my brothers and sisters. And we must ask ourselves the question, how come the Principal Medical Officer has now moved from being just occupying that position, and she is now a favored daughter of Keith Rowley and the PNM cabinet? She's now a director at the Eastern Regional Health Authority. She is a director at NIPDEC. She's a director at Angostura Holdings. And in addition to that, my brothers and sisters, the crisis in our healthcare system, we are not seeing no ease. And tonight, I want to ask Dr. Miriam Abdul-Richards, is she conflicted as a public servant in terms of the Civil Service Regulation 137? And how will she conduct her role and function in a very independent manner? And in addition to that, where will she find the time to dedicate to this fight against our COVID-19 pandemic whilst occupying these board positions? And in addition to that, is she conflicted from the position of her responsibility to the health and well-being of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, at a time also serving on a board that is engaged in the production and sale of alcohol? And in addition to that, has she violated Civil Service Regulation 137? The ball is in your court tonight, Dr. Richards. Answer these questions for the benefit of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago and the tax-paying citizens of the country who are crying out for decent health care under a failed government and under the system that has failed the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So tonight, my brothers and sisters, the United National Congress, led by Kamla Persad Bissessa, is on the move. We are ensuring that we uphold the Constitution, the independence of our public institutions, the rule of law. We guarantee you that we will not allow democracy to die in Trinidad and Tobago. And you must join us in our glorious struggles throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago to ensure that there is transparency, there is good governance, and there is a political party that can return you to the glory days that you enjoyed in this country between 2010 and 2015 under the leadership of Kamla Persad-Bissessar. The United National Congress has had the track record of delivery and service to you, and that is why we tell you tonight there is hope under the UNC, there's hope under Kamla Persad-Bissessar as we continue our glorious struggle to return Trinidad and Tobago to a country of hope and prosperity. I thank you.
A team focused on rebuilding the economy and restoring our democracy. This is the United National Congress.
We increase the amount of CCTV cameras in this country by 500. 180 CCTV cameras we put in Tobago to help with crime against tourists and the local people there. So we increased by 500.
In the image of the United National Congress, the Member of Parliament for Urupooch East, Dr. Rudal Munilal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, family of the United National Congress in Trinidad and Tobago and across the world, political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, parliamentary colleagues, MP Indar Singh, other speakers tonight on our platform, brothers and sisters all. It's a privilege to be again in your home, in your workplace, in your virtual space, to bring to you some of the issues affecting our beloved nation. Today, brothers and sisters, we are witnessing the collapse of our democracy and our society. We are witnessing the emergence of an autocratic state under the PNM. Today, we are responding with strength, with courage, with tenacity, as we embark upon now the people's revolution, a revolution of the people, a peaceful revolution meant to highlight the problems that we face, whether it's crime, unemployment, poverty, neglect, discrimination. I invite you early to join the revolution. On December 12th at the Debe Fun Splash Water Park, it's car park on that day, and you will hear more about that in the coming days. Brothers and sisters, this country has deteriorated to a state that is unrecognizable. Our nationals abroad don't want to come back home at this time. I understand some of the Venezuelans who are illegal are now leaving because things are so bad here. That is the state that Rowley has us in. They are destroying every single day. They are destroying one institution at a time. Look around what is happening, brothers and sisters. Our colleague MP Indar Singh spoke about the industrial court, a critical institution since the 1960s being undermined now. The office of the president compromised in the recent Police Service Commission matter. The Police Service Commission itself collapsed, imploding under the weight of corruption, under the weight of unconstitutional violations to its principles and the law. Brothers and sisters, today, you would not believe, but independent senators are now filing motions not against the government, but against the opposition. That is where we have reached. A group of people who are in parliament to hold the government to account, filing motion against the opposition. Today, brothers and sisters, the principal medical officer, whose job it is to tell people not to drink alcohol, reduce your consumption of alcohol, it is hazardous to your health. The principal medical officer is now selling rum because now she occupies another institution whose job is to market and to promote the sale of alcohol. That could only happen in a banana republic, brothers and sisters. And that is the state we are in today. I hope that she has permission pursuant to Civil Service Regulations, I believe 137.1, that she would have permission from the permanent secretary or a head of department for that task. I raised, brothers and sisters, in the parliament some time ago the matter involving persons then nominated, now confirmed, I believe, and appointed to the Police Service Commission, particularly two persons, Mr. Ian Ramdani and Ms. Maxine King, I believe is her name. When I raised those matters in Parliament, I raised in the context of one person some type of previous conduct, campaign, involvement, interfacing with employees of that organization. And I indicated that this was not good, it was not healthy for the conduct of employment relations. There were concerns by an employee or employees over their tenure, over the security of their jobs. I looked at the Express yesterday, and brothers and sisters, I was appalled when I see a front page headline. It was, "Hold your complaint," with an article entitled, "Don't Interact with New Commissioners." It appears from reading this article, the acting director of personnel administration, his name is one Corey Harrison, told in a recording, which they were kind enough to send to me, told employees that they were wrong if they had contact with a member of parliament, myself, to raise matters that affect citizens. This is his position according to this report. I couldn't believe it. And further went on to tell employees, if you have a complaint, whether it's sexual harassment, rape or murder, whatever it might be, don't write me. Don't send me no letter. You believe an employer is behaving like this? This employer must be an understudy of Keith Rowley. The director of personnel administration telling an employee, if you have a complaint, don't write me, I don't want to know. Now the industrial court will wipe the ground with him if a matter ever go there. When I read this, I realized why Anand Ramlogan is winning so much cases. These are the people who lead us to the Privy Council with Ramlogan, and who will lose. You cannot tell employees not to write you. You are the employer. You have a duty to meet and treat with the complaints of every single employee in good faith. So Mr. Harrison, you are rude and out of place if this report is accurate. And you ought not to be taking umbrage to a member of parliament raising any matter. That is our job. We took an oath of office to uphold the law without fear or favor. And I fear not, and I don't need favors. I couldn't believe the acting director of personnel administration seeking to chide, to buff up, to insult employees of the Police Service Commission, and then telling them, have nothing to do with the new commissioners. You working for me. I am the boss. I am the emperor. I am the king. This is uncalled for, and in the coming days, if this is not clarified further, I intend to take up this matter at several of the more relevant institutions and authorities, brothers and sisters. This same person, I want you to recall this same person, brothers and sisters, in several matters that were before the court. In one matter involving Ravi Balgobin Maharaj and Gary Griffith Police Service Commission and so on, it was an affidavit from the acting director of personnel administration, who said a list of nominees was submitted to Her Excellency on August 12, 2021. He did not say it was withdrawn. The president, in her own "I did no wrong" paid advertisement, the president said that a list came and it was withdrawn, but the man who was in charge of this said he sent the list. He didn't say anything about withdrawn. Then the acting deputy director now, I believe she's also in agreement in that recording that we heard, indicated that the Police Service Commission has withheld submission of the merit list to the president. This is in another affidavit, in another matter, Anand Ramesa and the Police Service Commission. So the acting deputy director said we have withheld this merit list. The director said we sent it, and the president said they send it and take it back. That is where we are with the Police Service Commission. And the Director of Personnel Administration at this time has no moral authority to talk about trust of any employee under his charge, brothers and sisters. Another matter that is raging is this matter involving the Prime Minister and Gary Griffith. There was an excerpt in the Express, I believe, of yesterday, in which they gave almost verbatim an account of the letter sent by the Prime Minister to the Police Service Commission, indicating he lost faith in Gary Griffith. Well, I look at this letter, I read it 3 times. Brothers and sisters, the Commissioner of Police is appointed to do a job, to reduce crime, to protect citizens. That's his job. Rowley, of all people, complaining that another man is more erratic, disrespectful, and irrational than him. You could imagine that somebody is more erratic, disrespectful, and irrational than Keith Rowley, and Rowley is complaining about that. Now, these are matters of personality, idiosyncrasies, and behavior, and so on. These are not substantive matters in that sense. The performance of the Commissioner of Police is the issue. Whether crime going up or going down. Whether bandits being apprehended. Whether resources are going to the police officers. To raise issues as trivial as this, as the Prime Minister did, suggests he wanted to influence the merit list. He wanted to influence the appointment or disappointment of Gary Griffith. And this speaks volumes for a Prime Minister that is also out of control. This matter, brothers and sisters, and the Prime Minister has not responded to a question I raised several weeks ago. Prime Minister, did you or anyone else at the Diplomatic Center meet Woman Police Corporal Marshall? Did you meet her? And what did you meet her for? She's involved in several investigations in the police service involving, I believe, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Chandler, and others. What did a WPC Marshal go to the Diplomatic Center for? To meet who? To discuss what? And did you meet her? Tell us. I asked the question, you ignored it. Brothers and sisters, the Prime Minister is out of order to raise such issues. If you have a problem with Gary Griffith, come to Parliament and say you lose confidence and why. Don't go behind closed doors and write nasty letter about people's conduct and how they talk to you and the office of the Prime Minister being insulted and so on. When you call people all kind of name, whose office you undermining? Mine? You undermining the office of the Prime Minister. Brothers and sisters, I raise this matter with WPC Marshall again. In fact, the only WPC should go to the Diplomatic Center is Camille Robinson Regis. Brothers and sisters, what the Prime Minister will not tell you is that there's an investigation into firearms, the distribution of firearms and the lawful acquisition of firearms through the established process and so on. But I want the Prime Minister to tell me if he's aware of a minister who has not one but 3 high-powered guns, 3 high-powered weapons. And if he's aware that that minister refused to pay the relevant fees for 2 years, that is something you should be concerned about. Mr. Prime Minister, are you aware of a high government official? And this is information that the Firearm Bureau, Firearm Unit in the Police Service, they have several good officers there. They will know, they will have information because when you make a report, they are the ones who investigate. Is there a high government official who, I want to use, I can't use a bad word, but who was upset? Who was upset because he applied for a gun license, a special license. And believe it or not, it was a license for a gun to kill pigs. Yes, I said that. I said that. Imagine a high government official want a license for a gun to kill pig in Tobago. And when he didn't get it, or get it fast enough, I don't know, he gone crazy, gone ballistic. That means that everybody, not working and things corrupt and so on. What you want to kill pigs in Tobago? I mean, I heard of the famous James Bond movie, License to Kill. But this is License to Kill Pigs. So Keith Rowley, tell us, are you aware of that? Are you aware of a government official wanting to get a firearm dealer's permission, firearm dealer's license it's called, to sell gun in Tobago? Are you aware of that as well? Are those issues in your contemplation? Are you annoyed with that? So brothers and sisters, why did he not want Gary Griffith back as Commissioner of Police? Is it because Gary Griffith refused to break the law? Refused to break the law by locking up people on private property? Is it that Gary Griffith refused to lock up political opponents? And on that matter, I took note, Dr. Rowley in Tobago, Ramajane, talking about Watson Duke and nobody on a rape charge could be a PNM candidate and so on. I took note. He's trying to disarm politically Watson Duke. Dr. Rowley, did you try to disarm him physically? Did you try to disarm him physically? Did you try to get the firearms unit in the police service to take away his firearm. And when they told you that no charge you had in the court were related to firearms, so it was not possible, you go on ballistic again, no pun intended. You go on ballistic again. This is the workings of a prime minister who believes he's the commissioner of police. And brothers and sisters, you will hear much more about this in the future. You will hear no prime minister could tell the firearms bureau unit who to give gun to and who not to give gun to. Then we have an appointee, a lady named Maxine King from Tobago, I believe. Imagine this woman, according to her CV, which we have in our hands, is a wealth manager working with a company, First Line Security, I believe, involved with Dr. Rowley's friend, Alan Warner. He said is his friend in Parliament. He said that in response to a question. So his friend in Tobago, Alan Warner, is involved in a company, Inez Investment Limited. That company is involved with First Line Security, Miss Maxine King, I believe her name is, Miss King. She's a wealth manager, managing a $12 million fund from an unknown person for and on behalf of the friend of Keith Rowley, and she's placed on the Police Service Commission. So the wealth manager of his friend, managing an unknown account, is now, those are the facts according to paper. All we ask is if Alan Warner is your friend. He says yes. Do you know the connection between this lady who is now a commissioner, a police service commissioner, and your best friend or your good friend in Tobago? He doesn't want to answer that. But that is the point we were making when we said that we believe Ms. King was too close to the political directorate because she's working on behalf of his friend and he's the prime minister of the country. And we now know that he believes that he's police too. Those are serious issues, brothers and sisters. Today, because of this government and their pussyfooting over the appointment of a police commissioner and their corruption and undermining the Constitution and using the office of the president to do that, brothers and sisters, do you know today we have no commissioner? One of the consequences, I am now informed, is that the Police Complaint Authority has written, as they normally do, to the TTPS, the commissioner, and they have recommended the suspension of several police officers and their investigation concerning rogue behavior, misconduct in office, in some cases maybe more serious matters. The Police Complaint Authority has now written to the police service saying that several officers should be suspended forthwith given the findings of their investigation. You know, nobody is in the police now to suspend them. There's no commissioner of police. So officers who the Police Complaints Authority has recommended should not be at work, they're at work because there's nobody to suspend them. So they go along their merry way, courtesy Keith Rowley and the PNM. There's no commissioner. And that is the state of the police service today. I took note, the Deputy Commissioner of Police say, we have a problem with crime. The problem is the people, you're all walking too slow. If you walk faster, it's better. The crime strategy is to walk fast. Brothers and sisters, this cannot be the approach to security as Christmas comes along. We need more detailed policy, strategy, resources, and we need a police commissioner in place, and we need a transparent system. We need a transparent system. And that reminds me too of the Deputy Director of Personnel Administration declaring in this newspaper article I read earlier, there's no requirement for being transparent on this matter. Imagine the head of the commission, Director of Personnel Administration, saying something like that. And today the police commissioner office is vacant. So there's no need for transparency there as well. Brothers and sisters, I call upon Rowley to bring the merit list, the original merit list, as submitted or to be submitted on August 11th or 12th. Bring that to Parliament and take a decision. And stop wasting time because you want to manipulate and massage that process contrary to law. Brothers and sisters, they have mismanaged this country's economy. Today, you would have read in the newspapers a new Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft arrived. When we asked how much is the cost to lease that, they said they have a secret deal. They can't tell us how much. Can't tell us how much to lease that. They can't tell us because the deal is we can't say. So they can spend taxpayers' money, but don't tell the taxpayer how much we're spending. We have a deal, a secret deal. And they have agreed to lease not 1, but 12. According to market documents we have and so on, one of those aircraft that landed here, it takes 400,000 US a month to lease. That's 7 4 28, 2.8 million TT per month. 12 3 36, that's almost 30 million TT dollars a year. For one, they're going to lease 12. And we cannot find out how much you're leasing it for. Who is the middleman, the company in the middle doing the leasing? How much is Caribbean Airlines paying? We cannot find out. That is the next piece of nonsense taking place. Brothers and sisters, they have mismanaged the COVID, I don't have to tell you. Do you know in the last 7 days, we have had 3,600 new cases of COVID in 7 days. On the Saturday and Sunday before today, we have had a death every hour. 48 deaths in 48 hours. That's a death an hour. And why? Because they have mismanaged. They have been shooting in the dark on this COVID matter. And when we say that, people say, well, what would you have done? Had you been in government? Brothers and sisters, the UNC in Parliament, MP Rishi, MP Rai Ragbir, Dr. Budu and others, Dr. Gopi Singh outside, have been speaking on this matter. We told them already, had we been in office, we would have had a national mobilization strategy to bring all the groups, the churches, the mandirs, the mosques, the NGOs, civil society together to join us in the vaccination program so that today, less people would have been in fear because their own community organizations would have been doing the vaccination. We would have had vaccine mentorship where key national players, persons who are themselves mentors and high in the society, would have demonstrated to others the safety of taking vaccines. We would have provided incentives all over the world. They were providing incentives. We never did. We would have used culture to encourage people to take vaccines. We would have included the private sector early. You remember in February this year, I believe, they rejected about 400,000 Pfizer vaccines from a private sector business conglomerate. That could have saved 1,000 lives today. They rejected that, brothers and sisters. The other day, MP for Karen East raised the matter in Parliament. The government is not even pre-ordering the critical medication that is needed to treat COVID. Apart from vaccine and dead, there's a space in the middle. One side is vaccine to prevent. Well, next side is dead, you're finished. In the middle is medication. You have to medicate people, treat people when they become sick. They're doing it all over the world. In Europe, in India, in Africa, in North America. This country don't have a clue about importing the critical medications to treat COVID. MP from Karen East has been raising that matter, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters in the south here, Southwest Regional Health Authority, on the verge of collapse. Debe, in my constituency, require 90 more cots, emergency beds. It is overflowing. Had the UNC and the partnership not constructed, Point Fortin, Arima, Debe campus, Cuba Hospital, Teaching Hospital in San Fernando, where would this country be today managing this pandemic? Where? Today, in the Southwest in particular, Debe has to be expanded in capacity for COVID patients. The Point Fortin Hospital need oxygen. In San Fernando, they're already overfull. Augustus Long need resources, human resources as well. And when we told them, buy more beds, ICU beds, buy more medication, pay for more nurses and so on in the system, they said, no, we have enough. They squandered $250 million at NGC. And the Prime Minister said that was manageable. $250 million squandered. Manageable, says Rowley in Parliament. How much ICU beds that could buy? How much cots that could buy? How much tent that could buy to treat at this time this critical problem of this country being overrun by the COVID? We are now in what is called mass casualty mode. Oxygen tanks needed, beds needed, space needed. And this government happy that they squandered $250 million at NGC, brothers and sisters. So that is their track record on COVID. I can go on and on, but there are other speakers, of course, who will speak on other matters related to the mismanagement and lack of governance. So I will end by again reminding you that the time is coming, December 12th, at the Debe Water Park car park. We will be having a mass drive-in rally with your cars and so on. Remember that date, mark it down, put it on a sticker on the fridge so that you know because this country is a country worthy of being saved. This country has enormous potential in human resources, in capital resources. The potential is enormous. We have to get rid of the PNM once and for all, brothers and sisters. Today, crime is out of control. COVID is out of control. And indeed, Rowley is out of control. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
The voice of the people is the voice of God.
Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Freedom. Everybody sing.
From the House of the Rising Sun, the first woman Prime Minister, the first woman Attorney General, the first woman to lead a parliamentary political party, the first woman opposition leader, introducing the Revolutionary People's Leader, Kamla Prasad Bisesa.
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
The People's Revolution.
Thank you once again for joining us for yet another virtual report of the United National Congress. We continue to use every avenue available so we can keep you up to date and updated as we bring the truth to you in these reports. I thank my colleagues who have spoken before me for tonight's report and thank them for their loyalty and commitment to the United National Congress. Today we want to let you know, or let the PNM know, that the days of 9 days wonders are over. You know, there's a thing, they say 7-day wonder, some say 9-day wonder, that no matter what is the issue, it just goes away. But we will make sure that these troubling issues do not go away. As much as they would like to keep us in the dark, we have to let you know what is happening. So that is what our People's Revolution is about. We will not forget the roads and the bridges that they have neglected for years, the schools they have not opened, the by-election due in the Penal Debe Regional Corporation, over 8 months since there has been no representation. And just before I came downstairs, I checked my emails, and I've received an email. I had written to the Attorney General and to the Minister of Local Government calling for the by-election to take place, because more than 7 months, going in 8 months, and I'd written to them in my capacity as a lawyer on behalf of a client, Nicholas Rampasad, who is a voter in that electoral district. So I just checked the email, and the Attorney General is responding. And I haven't digested fully the response, but basically saying, look, don't take any legal action. There's the Delta strain, and it's like long after I'd sent this letter. In the meantime, events have already overtaken their response. So like the left hand of the AG doesn't know what the right hand, again, is left foot, right foot, ballot issues. So whilst they're writing to me in my capacity as a lawyer, at the same time on Monday last, that said client, through another lawyer, through the firm of Anand Ramlogan and Company, they have actually filed the matter in court. And they are engaged, the Prime Minister is engaged and his whole team in Tobago in an election campaign. Yet the AG's response through their lawyers is to say, reconsider, don't file. I'm sorry, it's already filed. The client has another lawyer, and I'm sure you will now have to respond to that low case and tell him you don't want to hold an election. What hypocrisy. That is the hypocrisy of this PNM and dictator Rowley. In Tobago, 2 elections in 1 year, and yet you cannot do 1 by-election, where a vacancy has arisen. So we call upon you, do not suppress our democracy, Dictator Rowley. Let us act with transparency. Let us act with equality of treatment in the law and under the law. So that one set cannot be saying geographic discrimination because you're from Penal Debe Regional Corporation, no election, and you're in Tobago campaigning. How can that be right? So we call upon you to do the correct thing. You have delayed long enough. Tell the president, let the president know to issue the election writ and call an election date. So we will use, as I say, every constitutional means. every chance we get in the parliament, every chance we get outside the parliament, we will use every legal means we know, and we know that these efforts face uphill battles because the PNM have compromised all our independent institutions and even the Constitution itself to limit the power of the opposition. However, if all legal, constitutional, and parliamentary efforts are thwarted or ignored, that then only leaves us with the politics, and we will engage in the politics. We will not stop. Dictator Rowley, I put you on notice that the 9-day wonder is no more. You and your accomplices, Wantier, Dial Singh, Faris Al Rental, Recusal Twin Stewart, Credit Card Camille, Morva Mansion, My Heinz, whatever, and the rest, cannot run and hide or distract from your misdeeds. We will hold you all to account. Let's take note, as we come out of this weekend, of the very grim statistics recorded with respect to COVID. This weekend, we lost 48 citizens in 48 hours to COVID. Each death is unfortunate, and it is even greater suffering and misery when we learn that one of those who died was a child. My heart goes out to the families of all those who lost loved ones to the virus. We saw also another thing happening. In addition to the 28 COVID deaths, we also saw over 500 new infections. Something is clearly wrong. Something is clearly wrong. Ever since the state of emergency was declared, the deaths have skyrocketed. In the year and a half from January 2020 to May 21, there were 200 deaths in total. For the 6 months of lockdown, the deaths skyrocketed, taking us to a total of 1,700 deaths in the past year. What is going on? We cannot keep doing the same things in the same way with the same people and expect it to change. In fact, it's getting worse. So it's the same failed medical team. We call upon again for a commission of inquiry into government's handling of the crisis, and we continue to make that call. We need to know why these people are dying. We need to hold those who are accountable to account, whether it be the Prime Minister, the Health Minister, Davlin Thomas, and obviously this very same failed health team. Dictator Rowley must stop shifting the blame to the UNC. He is in charge, remember? He must remember that he's in charge. They told us with no uncertain names, you created this mess, you clean up your mess. From the very day the pandemic was declared on 31st January 2020, we tried in the Parliament. We were in the forefront, and the PNM lagged behind us. This has been a deadly disaster for our country. We will not let it drop as another 9-day wonder. Those in authority must be held accountable. They cannot shift blame to the opposition, who we are not controlling any aspect of the health system. And it is clear, if we were, our team and the country would not be in this deadly position we are in now. The failed COVID team I speak about again, as we face this disaster, 2,000 deaths, over 65,000 cases. Most since the state of emergency was declared. Yet the health team pretends they're doing an excellent job. They pat themselves on the back. Well done, well done. We saw a beaming CMO recently posing for photos receiving an honorary doctorate. However, just a few days ago, he downplayed the urgency of the out-of-control deaths and infections. They have no solutions. They have no plans. It's the same failed speeches, every press conference, every day. So the question is, are they for real? Can we continue to place our confidence and trust in them? And my answer is no. Some change needs to be done. You cannot do the same thing in the same way with the same people and expect better results. In fact, the results are now worse. So something has to give. The healthcare system is in crisis, and they are too concerned with having their skins, saving their skins, looking good, and protecting the government. Meanwhile, in seeming reward for this unprofessional behavior, for being a PNM puppet, we see that another member of that failed cover-up team, Dr. Richards, is being favored. She was recently appointed to a state board. This is yet another state board. This is her third state board appointment. Let us understand what that means. It is not only about her misuse of her time and concentration, because she should be focusing on the COVID disaster, given her key professional role in the health sector. It is not only about her amassing more and more taxpayer dollars with these very questionable appointments. I want to raise the issue of Dictator Rowley's undermining of our institutions yet again. As principal medical officer, she is bound by the public service regulations, which mandate that she be non-political. This separation is crucial to our Republican Constitution, the separation of powers. To ensure that political partisanship does not pervade everything, housing, education, employment, down to health. This is where we must have that separation of powers. However, now the principal medical officer has 3 other jobs to do, and the health sector is in crisis. Principal medical officer Dr. Richards has 3 other jobs to execute government policy on these 3 state boards. So how can she be politically independent in the provision of health, but at the same time earning income and doing what? Implementing government policy on 3 state boards. How can you do it? Obviously, this person is a tool of government and a favored one at that. Wanted Diyal Singh, watch out. The talk is that she is coming to replace you as a candidate in St. Joseph. So take notice. I'm deeply worried about the state of our health sector under these people. Things are not only going to get worse because they do not have a plan to slow the spread of the virus. The whole failed medical team and Wanted Diyal Singh must go. Lives are at stake. I need to speak a little about the so-called independent senators and what may well be a conspiracy against UNC senators in our parliament. While Dictator Rowley causes hundreds of unnecessary deaths by controlling and politicizing the supposedly independent and instigated medical team, we have the supposed independent senators also doing the PNM's dirty work. So-called independent Senator Anthony Vera has moved a motion against all UNC senators, which is to be debated in the Senate this week. This motion, as I said before, has no substance whatsoever. As a lawyer, Vera should be embarrassed and ashamed of himself. The motion has no particulars. It is poorly constructed. It wrongly seeks to deal with an electoral college matter, and I don't even know if that was an electoral college. It was a joint sitting of both houses of parliament. The jury is still out on whether it was an electoral college meeting or a joint sitting. The section 36 itself speaks about a joint sitting and not an electoral college matter. So he's seeking to raise the senator, so-called independent Vera, something that transpired when both houses of the parliament met to debate a section 36 motion. And at that time, when he sat there, he sat through that joint sitting, he's now raised this motion in the Senate to deal with something that occurred in a joint sitting. Why didn't he object then? You would have been sitting in that parliament for the joint sitting. If things went wrong, you had procedure and protocol for the parliamentary sitting, you could have raised it. You stayed quiet like a little mouse and then ran outside there to call the opposition and senators and the whole opposition, you and your colleagues, some of them, to a bad mouth. I told you before, sir, if you want to enter the political guile, we will deal with you in the political guile. And so I say your motion is embarrassing and shameful from every angle. It doesn't have, as I say, any particulars. It doesn't name anyone. You went one brush all the senators. And then let's see how you're going to prosecute that motion. It is embarrassing, I say, and shameful from every angle. However, Senator Vera has openly compromised, in my respectful view, the president's senators. By attacking all UNC senators without any specifics and seeking a motion of censure, Senator Vera is placing the so-called independent senators within a PNM scheme. Within a PNM scheme, you are now creating a bench. The independents have never, the so-called independents have never operated as a bench in the parliament. Each one is an individual and is expected to conduct himself or herself in a very transparent, independent manner. So let's see what's going to happen. Never mind that motion has absolutely no merit. In a kangaroo court, it can be pushed through. This is because the Senate is not an oversight body, independent of the lower house, as it is supposed to be. It is a fake oversight institution, firmly under the control of the PNM, and getting more so with each passing day. So they may censor all opposition centers, but it won't stop there. They may act as a tag team, the PNM and these so-called independents. The PNM may then recommend that the opposition senators be suspended for the rest of the session. And that means it takes us till next September. You see, Dictator Rowley and the PNM want to govern with absolutely no opposition. And this is part of the way that they could try to do it. Senator Vera may well be part of a plot. And we wait to see if the other presidential senators will play along. We have taken a decision. We will not describe these senators as independent senators. They are so-called independents. They are definitely presidential senators. So let's get rid of that word. Nowhere in the Constitution does it speak to independent senators. And that traditional protocol has long been breached by this present crop of so-called independent senators. They are indeed, let it be known, presidential senators. The president selects, recruits, appoints, and or disappoints, as the case may be. So let's see what happens. Let me assure the population that even if our parliamentary options are exhausted, even if our legal options become exhausted, even if our constitutional options become exhausted, we will use our political options to fight for your democracy and our democracy. We will not let Keith Rowley establish a dictatorship in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why we have pledged to continue with our people's revolution. This has been happening all over the country, continuously since I made that call on the 21st October of this year. The People's Revolution is to restore and rebuild democracy in Trinidad and Tobago. Rebuild and restore democracy in Trinidad and Tobago by holding the government to account, and we do so inside Parliament, outside of Parliament, and we do so by not letting Dictator Rowley get away with any 9-day wonder phenomenon. We already have had some successes. Dictator Rowley was forced to announce the by-election in Davis South. This after 8 months, I mentioned to you before, after 8 months. Only after protests took place outside the PDRC building down in South, we saw the Prime Minister announce that he would relent, that the date would be coming soon. So I find it passing strange, as I told you when I started, that I've received this letter from the AG's lawyers about this very matter with a totally different point of view. Whom should we believe, the AG's lawyers or the Prime Minister? I believe none of them. We will go to court. The matter is in the court. And if they fail to name a date, the court will take that decision on our behalf and in justice and democracy for Trinidad and Tobago. So the concern about Tobago, that's fine. I'm happy for Tobago. But they didn't care about the lack of representation in that Davis South seat in the Penal Davis Corporation. So he has come out. He said clearly, the date is coming, so we await that date, and never mind, matter is still in the court. I told you that we, the People's Revolution, will not only be inside Parliament, but also outside of the Parliament. And equally, our struggle was not only to be inside TNT, but to take that struggle internationally, as we are also part of the international community. In this regard, and in my capacity as political leader of the UNC, I had recently written to several international organizations, of which TNT is a member. One of these is Parliamentarians for Global Action, based in New York City, where the global headquarters of the UN is located. I have received a rapid response from PGA, and they are very concerned with what is happening here in Trinidad and Tobago. I will read this letter from the PGA's Mr. David Donat Katin. He's the Secretary General of the Parliamentarians for Global Action. This is a copy of the letter which I'll share with you. This is from Mr. Donat Katin, who is Secretary General, as I said, to the PGA, Parliamentarians for Global Action. So let me share the letter with you. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, etc. And he writes as follows. I read this for you. I profoundly thank you for having shared with Parliamentarians for Global Action this extremely important letter, which goes at the heart of the mandate of our global parliamentary organization, committed to human rights, democracy, justice, equality, including and international peace and security under the rule of law. You are raising very serious issues of attacks to democratic principles and practices in your country, which I am hereby submitting to the attention of the Parliamentary Rapid Response Team of PGA. regarding which we will take appropriate action under the PGA's Democratic Renewal and Human Rights Campaign. The letter continues. At this preliminary stage, let me stress that you are reporting two very dangerous forms of attacks to democracy that can be defined as abuses of power by the executive, which, if not adequately halted and reversed, might bring about the transformation of Trinidad and Tobago, a vibrant democracy within CARICOM, and the OAS that has been constituted a shield against the autocratic and dictatorial trends in the region, such as those stemming from neighboring Venezuela into an authoritarian state. This letter continues, and I continue to quote, the first form of abuse of power is represented by the government's weaponization of the prosecutorial and investigative prerogatives attributed to the police, which shall remain an independent institution against the opposition. The second form of abuse of power regards Parliament and is represented by repeated efforts by the executive to weaken the oversight and legislative functions of Parliament. The letter continues. Please be assured that the PGA team will be working on a more detailed response to your letter and to indicate some proposed courses of action in a separate letter. Please accept, Honourable Leader, the assurances of our esteemed, sincerely, David Donat Catton, Secretary General, PGA. So this is a letter that we received in response, and we look forward to their more detailed response, but clearly we are taking the struggle and we are taking the People's Revolution locally, regionally, and internationally. This is a very powerful letter, and I'm putting Dictator Rowley on notice. The People's Revolution is here, and it is working. We in the UNC are doing everything in our power to confront the major challenges to our democracy. We will continue so to do. So whilst we are working to protect our democracy and our republic, Dictator Rowley is destroying our society, he's destroying our lives, and destroying our economy. Right now, even the Minister of Finance, Minister Taxbreak Imbert, is busy trying to spin. Taxbreak Imbert knows that their mismanagement and squandermania have caused the worst economic crisis our country has ever seen, and he's trying to cover up their incompetence. Taxbreak Imbert wants to convince people that everything is great, there is nothing to worry about. Important sections of another supposedly independent institution, the media, has also been compromised by the PNM. The finance minister got sections of the media to spin the recent IMF statement on the conclusion of their Article 4 consultations held here in TNT. And that headline, IMF praises government's COVID management, was one newspaper's front page. But this is what they actually said. So that's a newspaper's opinion headline. And this is what the IMF said, and I quote, the mission encouraged the authorities to remove all restrictions on current international transactions while providing sufficient forex to meet demand for all current international transactions. Did you hear that? The mission encouraged the authorities to remove all restrictions on current international transactions while providing sufficient forex to meet demand for all current international transactions. The IMF is voicing, acknowledging what every small business owner has been saying for years under this Rowley government. On top of all the red tape and taxes the PNM are inflicting on small businesses, Rowley has created a forex crisis as well. Nobody can get enough forex to run their business. And meanwhile, the central bank governor, Alvin Hillier, is busy buying a $1 million apartment in Tobago from Rowley's best friend. And I told you last week, I have the documents here. Not today, we'll do it another day. But I put Mr. Hillier on notice. He has also bought in Inesgate, just like Speaker Bridget Anisette George, just as her husband bought. This is the file. It comprises 46 townhouses. I've told you the owners of one is the Mr. Newman George. And today I'm telling you, Alvin Hillier, governor of the central bank, buying a townhouse for over $1 million from Mr. Rowley's best friend. I wonder if the contractor who sold the central bank governor that apartment had any problems getting foreign exchange. But if you are really putting millions in forex into the economy, as you say, where is it going? The IMF wants to know and we want to know. This week, International ratings agency Moody's also released its rating action. They downgraded our ratings to BA2 from BA1. And don't bother with the spin and distraction of whether it is negative or stable. Moody's downgraded TNT's credit rating to BA2, down to BA2. If you're at the bottom of an economic pit and you are stable, it simply means that you're staying at the bottom of the pit. BA2 means, and I quote, obligations rated BA2 are judged to have speculative elements and are subject to substantial credit risk. Therefore, when we are looking to borrow, TT will be seen as substantially risky. We are rated as junk status in the financial world. This is where 6 years under dictator Rowley has brought us, the junk status. A junk economy, a junk government has transformed us into a junk economy. Thanks to dictator Rowley and the PNM, we will pay high rates for loans that the next generation, you young people, will still be paying long after dictator Rowley and his bunch have gone. Rowley has spent $5 billion. Rowley has spent $5 billion taxpayers' dollars, but he cannot tell us where it all went. $5 billion was spent, and yet they have cut disability assistance for families. $5 billion, you can't get disability for your families. $5 billion spent, yet businesses are still owed their VAT refunds, their own money. They're still owed VAT refunds to keep these businesses going. $5 billion have been spent, yet in August, the business chambers informed us of 6,000 businesses permanently shut under this Rowley government. $5 billion spent. We do not disagree, but where we disagree is that this has had the impact of protecting the most vulnerable and saving jobs. Has it helped that? Saving the jobs and protecting the most vulnerable. This is what dictatorship Rowley is about. Money, money, money for him, his friends, their families, and finances. And nobody must ask them anything, stop them, or challenge them in any way, shape, or form. But I warn them again. We have this file. Mr. Warner, your best friend, Inez Gate. And not today, but another day, we will share more of the contents. And Dictator Rowley, this is your file. This is much heavier. This is a heavier file, Dictator Rowley. We will share more with you. So whilst you all are busy fixing friends, family, and financiers, the most vulnerable are the ones suffering the most. So I put you on notice. In conclusion, we are not letting that happen without a fight here. We will not stop fighting. I want to acknowledge all the acts of defiance against this PNM, the tyranny of the PNM. All across the country, people are peacefully protesting the discrimination and attacks on our democracy by dictator Rowley and the PNM. The People's Revolution will continue as long as the threat to our democracy and way of life remains. The UNC will never stop fighting for the rights and freedoms of all the people of TNT. The PNM feels that, as I said at the start, that we are 9-day wonder, that we'll soon forget the incremental challenges and we will become a dictatorship when it is too late to do anything about it. They believe that. They feel they can control all institutions in TNT, including the TTPS and the Fourth Estate, so they feel they can do as they please. But I give you that assurance again. We give you that assurance. We will ensure that the world is aware of what is taking place in our beloved TNT. We'll fight them in the parliament. We'll fight them in the streets. We'll fight them with all our might, day and night, incessantly, persistently, in TNT and abroad. And with our very last chance and last ounce of strength which the Creator has given us, we shall never, ever surrender. Once again, I ask you to join us in the People's Revolution as we fight for our beloved country. On December 12th, come out and show the PNM that you have had enough. Enough is enough. 12th December, we'll share more details on our People's Revolution rally, 12th December this year. Please come out and show your support, and details will be shared on our Facebook and our website, the UNC website, and through your MPs and your councillors. So, the time is now. Stand up and let your voices be heard. Thank you very much. Good night and God bless. Thank you.
The voice of the people is the voice of God. The tables are turning, your eyes are opening. Welcome to the revolution.
People crying out for justice.
Some of them crying out for freedom.
Want freedom.
Everybody crying out for democracy.
Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on.
Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution.
Let's unite and stand for something.
This is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing.
As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And this revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. This is the people's
Come on,
revolution.
people.
Come on.
Come on, people.
Let's move.
Come on, people.
Come on.
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
People crying out for justice.
Some of them crying out for freedom.
Everybody crying out for democracy.
Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on.
Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution.
Let's unite and stand for something.
This is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing.
As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And this revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. This is the people's
Come on,
revolution.
people. Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
The people's revolution.